Hello and welcome to All About Billings. We are a show dedicated to discovering the people that make Billings a great place to work and live. We will interview local business people, entrepreneurs, community leaders, artists, entertainers, and we will learn from their successes, their failures, and their connection to Billings. I'm your host, Nancy Brook, broker and owner at Billings Best Real Estate. And today it is my pleasure to have two guests from Toastmasters. We have Bob Rightmire and Sue Tucker, and they are both DTM, which means Distinguished Toastmasters. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Well, it's great to have you here. And just fair disclosure, I've been a Toastmaster for many years, and it is my pleasure to hear from some very experienced Toastmasters and share with the community what this organization is all about. So let's just start with the basics. What is Toastmasters? Bob.
I will start. First of all, Toastmasters at the local level is a weekly meeting. It could be weekly, bi-weekly, it could be monthly. The club decides how often they want to meet. But it's the most important part of Toastmasters is that weekly meeting. And in that meeting, it's a laboratory, and we get to try out different things we want to do. It's different than a classroom because there's no instructor per se. There's peer advisors who help you become better at speaking and ultimately as a leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that oftentimes people think of Toastmasters as just a speaking club, but really it's about communicating effectively.
Correct.
And being a better leader.
Correct.
So, Sue, why don't you talk a little bit about how you got started in Toastmasters?
I got started because somebody asked me to a meeting.
Okay.
And it still amazes me. But when I went to that meeting, it was a lot of professionals, and I was very young. And I was very impressed. You know, I just soaked up the agenda and how they did things. But then they invited me to a social, and I really got to know them, and then I was hooked. And then when I came to Billings, it was a great idea for a way to connect with people in the community. And
so you just carried on.
Yeah,
from
and
there.
then I found a club that was small and growing, and they put me to work as secretary and newsletter editor, and became president. And I enjoy the speeches, hearing other people speak. I'm really a paperwork management, the administration person.
Well, and a leader too, because you are actually one of the leaders in the organization. And you have
Correct.
done that many times, right?
Yes, I am currently the area director, so I oversee the 4 clubs in Billings. And then we have somebody else in town, Teresa Grayson, who's the division director, and she's overseeing Bozeman area as well.
Okay. Well, and Bob, you must be one of the people that's been in Toastmasters the longest currently, right? In our
I believe
in
so.
our city?
Yes, in our city for sure.
Yeah, maybe not across the country.
I don't know.
So, when did you join Toastmasters, and how did you get started?
It started in 1976.
Okay.
That was in the last century, by the way. So I've been in a while, and I joined. 3 people approached me to be a member of the Toastmasters Club. The first one said it would add to my credentials as far as work is concerned. The second one said it would be good for my personal growth. Those 2 arguments didn't resonate with me, but the third person said, come with me to a meeting and it will be fun. And it was the fun part that captured my imagination, and again, ran into professionals that I connected with, and I promised myself I would attend 3 meetings and make a decision on the 3rd meeting whether to join, and I joined at that point, yeah.
So what have you found that Toastmasters has given you in terms of benefits? So fun, was it fun?
Yes, and it's continued to be fun all these years. I've been a continuous member. I've never let my membership lapse at all during that period of time. It's fun, but I learned so much more. When I joined Toastmasters, I was a college graduate. I had been a performing musician. I was an Army veteran. I actually trained as a teacher, and then I was starting a career. But I found that I was just floundering. I couldn't get my bearing on what my future was going to be or how to manage it. And when I joined Toastmasters, of course, I was in an environment with a lot of, at that point, the club was men only. And I just associated with him and built connections with him, and it very much clarified my approach to my career. And about 8 years later or so, I was offered a promotion, and it dovetailed into what I was experiencing in Toastmasters just exactly.
So you really found it helped your career growth.
Yes.
Other than your personal growth too, it
Right,
sounds like.
absolutely. The friendships I made, in my opinion, it's all about the people, and that's what keeps me connected to the clubs. I'm a member of more than one club. So.
Well, Sue, what did you find beneficial about Toastmasters?
Something similar. I learned to do things in Toastmasters that I eventually did in my work. And that was from learning how to do spreadsheet software before Excel existed, and doing slideshows, color presentations. I did all of that for Toastmasters, and so when I had to do that for work, for training, or just leading a session, I already had those skills. It was easy. And I feel like my work at Billings Clinic, I transferred because people saw a change in me, and they moved me through the system. I didn't really have to go out and find other jobs. They helped me grow through the system, and I ended up in, computer systems. But there you had to do training, you had to run meetings for installations, and it seemed to mesh. And I really have liked. I've done some traveling with it. I've really enjoyed that. It's just very positive people. Anytime I go to a meeting, I just feel different that day. If I hear a joke, I'm going to share it again. If I hear a word of the day, I'm going to put it in my next email. I just take the little bits that I get from everyone. There's so many little tidbits with everyone sharing that I just love to reuse it.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I've been really impressed with in my time in Toastmasters is the people from all sorts of different walks of life.
Absolutely.
So, like, for example, I might have met Sue because we worked at the same organization for a while, but I don't know if I really would have connected with her. I don't think I ever would have met Bob. I have met people in the fire department, people who are in law enforcement. I remember there was somebody who was running for a public office.
Several.
There was somebody who was like trying to be Miss Montana. I mean, that's one of the things that I think is really blows you away is where do you interact with people from such different facets of the world, that come together for one common purpose. What has been one of the most memorable experiences you've had in terms of meeting people or seeing somebody grow, Bob?
Interesting. Part of my job was going out and visiting businesses. And when I worked for the state of Montana, and I walked into a business, and of course, people have opinions of government employees, and that's what I was a government employee. I walked into this business, and the employer shredded me. He was obviously had some terrible experience of some kind with the state. And I calmed him down enough to get him, so I could get his story, what happened. I gathered the information. I said, let me research this and see what I can find out, because something doesn't sound right here. So at that point, I had a connection with somebody in Helena who worked in the environment this man was concerned about. I talked to him, and he says, oh yeah, I've heard that story before. But we knew each other, and so he could let down his guard, and we could talk to each other about what the situation was. And as a result of that conversation, the next time I went in to visit the employer, he invited me in. We shared a cup of coffee as though he had all the time in the world just to sit and chit-chat. So through Toastmasters, through my connection in Toastmasters, dealing with a problem, I was able to make this connection, and it really served everybody. Well, it was truly a win-win-win situation.
Yeah. And how about you, Sue, either personally or have you seen somebody who you've been very inspired by their growth?
I just lap up whatever I get. I tell people, like, I belong to Trailhead Toastmasters, and we've got 3 funny guys in there, and I just wish everybody could spend an hour with them, because you just walk out thinking all sorts of goofy things and just being tickled by their play on words. One of the things that really cemented it for me was when I was very new. There was a conference in Lewistown, and I didn't have anything to do that weekend, so I just jumped in the car, and it was a humorous speech contest. And Dean Fuller, who was from Billings, gave this speech about the autobiography of Dean Fuller, and I laughed so hard I was hoarse for 3 days. And I knew then, these are the people I want to be around, because it was just so fun.
Positive, fun, invigorating. I remember there was a young man who attended Toastmasters for a while because he'd get so nervous in interviews that he kept on blowing the interviews and wouldn't get the job. And because of Toastmasters, he was able to make it through the interview, get the job, and now he can't go to Toastmasters anymore because of his schedule. But I thought that was pretty cool, that you could learn to think on your feet enough to be able to impress somebody who's looking to hire you. And that's, how useful is that? My goodness. Because there are a lot of people who freeze up in interviews. And one thing we should talk about is what the meetings are like, because, we're talking about this Toastmasters and you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself and people are, there's a lot of camaraderie. But Bob, why don't you talk a little bit about the structures of the meeting?
Thank you, Nancy. First and foremost, I've been thinking about what is one of the best values of Toastmasters, just for the first person who attends, and you're exposed to an agenda. Our meetings in Billings last 1 hour, plus or minus. Sometimes they run a little long, sometimes they run a little less. But you have an agenda. We start off with people are assigned roles, and every week the roles are different. You might be a Toastmaster this week, which is basically a program chairman. Next week you might be the table topics presenter. Next week you might be a speech evaluator. We start off the meeting, people explain what they're supposed to be doing, so they have clarification on what their job is in the meeting. We have a formal speech, usually 5 to 7 minutes in length. Then we have another Toastmaster who evaluates the speech based on a criteria. You don't just willy-nilly thrash them. You have a specific thing you're looking for, and it's fairly generic. And then we have table topics. They're usually 1 to 2 minutes. And
so tell what a table topic is.
We have a table topic master, and that person is assigned ahead of time, and he or she will prepare questions or situations, and they will ask people, they will throw out a question or a situation, pause for a minute so everybody's thinking about an answer to this question or situation, and then she picks on one person. You might start off and you have 8 possible people to be called upon. You pick one, and then you do the same until you've achieved a certain number of responses. But the whole idea is to think about the question you're being asked, formulate an answer, and give a short presentation. So it's the whole concept of listening, thinking, and then speaking. And
being quick on your feet, too.
Quick on your feet, absolutely.
Because you can't sit around for 2 minutes trying to write a speech. You have to say, okay, he asked me a question, I better come up with something.
When I was working, we would have staff meetings. And sometimes the boss would just turn to me and ask me a question out of the blue. Duh, wait a minute. Sweat bullets, but it prepares you for that. And then finally we go through awards presentations to practice giving and receiving awards. And that's pretty much the meeting.
Well, and things have changed since 2020 when a lot of things shut down because of COVID. And so there are plenty of meetings that are now offered virtually.
Correct.
Some are in person only, some are virtually only, some are a hybrid meeting.
Correct.
But that means you could have people from around the world, and if you wanted to attend a meeting, you can attend in your sweatpants and not even brave the roads in winter,
correct.
right?
Yep.
So where do people find out about where the meetings are located? Maybe Sue, you could take that one.
Toastmasters International has a website that has a Find a Club link.
Okay.
And you just put in the zip code of 59102 and it'll bring up a listing for each of the clubs. Things change occasionally, so I like to make sure that is the most
That's the most up to
perfect
date.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise you get it out on social media and it just, you never get to retract it.
But if you didn't, like, let's say you didn't want to attend a meeting here, if you wanted to attend one in England in the middle of the night, I bet you could find a virtual meeting somewhere in the world, right?
Yes, yes.
That's made it pretty
And-
interesting. And I know for a while you had some, I don't know if you still do, you've had some international attendees at some of your meetings.
We do, we do.
And they still attend?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yes.
And why did they select that club?
We asked him to join.
Oh.
You know how that goes.
Awesome.
Well, he had attended several times, but then when we got him involved in our speech contest, it was like, you know, are you looking for a club? And it's been very helpful because
Yeah.
he's worked with much larger clubs and managing larger clubs, so it's given us some ideas. I think one thing to mention is the Pathways program. Toastmasters has had 100 years worth of education, doing by learning, and they've put together things that work for speaking. And so it becomes a self-paced program. I've got a list of projects that I can do, and I can decide whether I want to speak once a month or every 2 months. And then there's plenty of other roles that just get me up in front of the group and challenge me. We have the grammarian, for example, who tries to pull a word of the day that isn't so well known that it's easy to use, but not so difficult that it's impossible. And so it expands their vocabulary in a very subtle way.
Yeah, so you try to use the word when you're giving your speeches or giving your evaluation or your table topic, your impromptu speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I think the other thing that I find pretty interesting is, you know, there's not just the club that you can attend. There's also, like you mentioned, Sue, some speech contests that you can do. And I know, Bob, you've competed at the speech contest level before. Maybe you could describe that a little bit. So if you have an ambition to compete, you can take it all the way to be the best speaker of the world, right?
Correct. Yeah. I have competed. When you talk about focusing on a goal, that was a very focused goal. It became all consuming.
Yeah.
Not everybody competes because it's an effort. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. You have to pick the topic. You have to develop the topic. You have to do the content. Everything has to be done. It has to be you. It can't be somebody else. So you create this.
Can't plagiarize, in other words.
Not up to there's a percentage, but I'm never sure how they measure it. But you're better off not to plagiarize at all.
Right.
Or
You could
copy
repeat
or
a quote
Yes,
as
yeah, but you have to let
such
them know
and
where
so
it
said.
came from.
Yeah, right.
But when the construction of it has to be extremely tight. It's not a casual, I thought up the topic this morning and created a speech for this evening. Typically it took me about 3 months to craft this speech, and then I gave it and refined it and gave it and refined it and gave it and refined it. I won in Butte, and then I went on to Rapid City, but then I did not place in Rapid City. And I could have, this year we would go to Helena. Helena is what covers 3 states and part of a 4th state. And then you would advance from there. I'm not sure. Well, you go to what they call regional, and then from there to international. International will be in Philadelphia this year. We've had a couple of people, 2 or 3 people from Montana that have advanced to the international speech contest.
But there's thousands of people who start off the
Correct.
speech
Yes.
competition. So first you have to win at the club level, then you
4
have,
clubs.
and then the clubs all get together, and then you
For
have to
the
compete
area.
against the clubs
Yeah,
in the area, and then you have the division, and then you have
district.
I mean, so, and this is going on all around the world.
That's correct. You have people who may be competing virtually from Australia, and they're standing in front of the camera and the microphone, and they're doing it remotely, and they're giving this speech in the middle of the night in Australia or China.
Wow.
And as a result of that, you know, and there's, when you get all done, when you're at the international finals, there are 9 speakers, 8 or 9. Is it 9? I think it's 8.
I think it was 8 this
But-
last year.
And I have been an international contest judge quite some time ago. My job then was very easy. I listened to those speeches, and you're splitting hairs. I mean, they are so perfect. I don't know how they do it.
So let's say you have, your average Joe from Billings, Montana, who is excited about maybe improving communication skills and leadership skills like you've talked about. What are they going to get from attending the Toastmasters meeting? So what is it like if you're a new person, and why would you even want to come?
Well, the first thing you're going to get is a self-confidence. Give you an example. I can never remember how, shaking hands, for example. We shake hands a lot in the club. We do a lot of applauding. And when I first joined the club, when do I shake hands? Okay, a woman sitting down, you're standing up. When do you shake hands? When you meet a woman, who initiates shaking hands? I mean, those seem like really simple things, but for me, they weren't simple because I could never remember the rules. Am I supposed to, and conversing with somebody socially, I was pretty inept at that. But as a member of Toastmasters, we start off by, we have a procedure, and some people have referred to it as being old-fashioned and very formal, but you can always go lax. I mean, if you know how the correct way to do it is, you can always move to relaxed. It's pretty easy. But if you're attending a King's social, you probably should know what to do. It's always good to know the correct way to do it, even though you don't want to do it that way. So you can talk to your buds, or you can talk to the Queen, whichever you want to do.
And what would you say, Sue, would be useful if you're just starting off and attending?
For me, it's the communicating confidently. It's getting to know some people, and it's a safe place. When we do evaluations, we want to encourage you to improve your next speech. We want you to be wanting to give that next talk and try something different, whether it's with your hands or your voice or how you structure the speech. There's just a great camaraderie that builds, and we get to know each other, especially through table topics. It's pretty hard not to end up talking about your personal experience with, whether it's snow or anything, something you do at work. And I've just seen it. You get a chance to do team building. There are projects now that help with social media and blogging and connecting with your audience, using the visual aids. All of that stuff just makes it easier once you can try it in front of a safe group to go out and, share your message with the world.
Well, and I don't think my daughter would mind me sharing her story because she's a scientist, and She attended Toastmasters for a while, and it really helped her be much more confident and give her
Yes.
presentations. And you know, you don't think of a scientist necessarily as being good speakers, but the fact that she was so much better than, you know, just the standard, it really made her stand out, and she won awards because of her speaking and
really?
being able to present her scientific data and being able to present it in a way, a technical topic in a way that people could understand, like a layperson could, like Mom could understand, because you know how it is. You both are in IT, and it could be complicated topics, and so to be able to make it relatable, I think is really such a valuable skill. I think a lot of times people do have to interact with others outside of their immediate work group, whether you work at a bank or a hospital or the state of Montana or a college or university. We all have to communicate what it is that we're trying to achieve. And sometimes that's hard for people.
Most of the time when I was communicating with people, I was not speaking as a speaker in front of a group. It was one-on-one over the telephone, one-on-one across the desk.
Right.
And sometimes people were unhappy.
Yes.
Some people, at times they were angry, sometimes they were hostile. And one of the things you have to do is make them the center focus, listen to them, and try to deal with what's in front of you or over the phone in such a way that you achieve some resolution that's positive for both parties. And it's really easy to react. When somebody reacts to you, you react back. Toastmasters taught me to listen to the story, and then maybe ask probing questions, or, you know, it's my story is going to be different than every other Toastmaster who joins the club for the most
Sure,
part, because
right.
my life
So-
has been different.
Yeah. So Nancy, how did you find Toastmasters?
I had somebody invite me, probably just
From
like
work? Oh, really?
like everybody else. Had somebody invite me, and I was having a bad day, and he said, "You know what? You just look like somebody who needs to come to Toastmasters." And I'm like, I was in my office at the time, and I'm like, man, I just need an answer to my problems. And that guy walked in, and you'd know who he is, but he walked in and said, "Yeah, you look like the kind of person." And I'm like, okay. I said, well, I asked my employee, I said, "Do you think that's a sign?" And she said, "Yeah, I do." And I said, "Well, do you want to go too?" She goes, "No, it's a sign for you." So that's why I went, and I did know some people in the meeting, and then I just kept on going. And it just helped me, I don't know if it was confidence or just to feel better. Just to feel better about myself, to feel like I was achieving something, that I was moving forward, because I had a difficult time in life right then. But it just buoyed my spirits. And like you said, the people there are great. Well, this half hour has flown by. Before we leave, I want you to tell people where they can find that website, Sue.
It is toastmasters.org / find a club.
Find a club. Toastmasters.org, find a club. Well, you two, it's been fun.
You can actually go to Google and just put in Toastmasters Billings. and you'll get
Okay,
the
if you
list.
forget it, just remember the name Toastmasters, folks.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, Bob and Sue, it's been wonderful having you today. And everybody, we will see you next time on All About Billings.